All right, guys, welcome to another episode here at Voiced Podcast. I'm your host today, Charles Sabiaga, and I got a question for all of my aspiring freelancers and creators, because this one is for you. Are you looking to build your business, or are you looking to go in the trajectory of how that career lifestyle might look like? If you are, this podcast may be for you, or maybe you're looking to hire somebody who can help you out with your portrait and wedding photographers. So for this episode, we actually have one of my BNI referral partners out here from Thousand Oaks or Newberry Park, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Newberry Park, the city of Thousand
Okay.
Oaks.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So around that area. Basically the other side of where I'm at. So they are authentic lifestyle photographers. So they're always seeking to capture art from life. They're also passionate educators speaking. They've spoken at major photo conferences such as the WWPI, PPA, Hybrid Co, and Photo Native. And they've also completed a 22 speaking tour sponsored by Fujifilm. Wow, that's pretty cool. And they also run an educational platform teaching wedding photographers and videographers how to transition into branding photography, which is an essential niche as more businesses recognize the value of quality photo or video content. Welcome to the
well
show,
said.
guys.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having
So
us.
Yeah.
I didn't get to say the name. Obviously, we have Michael and Anna Costa with Michael and Anna Costa Photography.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
glad
it's great to
that-
be here. This is a cool
Yes.
setup.
Yeah.
Actually, it's the first time I've had photographers to discuss in this thing. And, you know, one of the main purpose I had you guys on in here is because my platform serves a lot of creators, not just business owners, right? You guys work with businesses, but also people who are aspiring to want to pursue the lifestyle. Photography is a form of art, and you guys are in that because obviously you guys have done it. You guys create a business out of it. You guys have a lifestyle out of it. You guys are thriving. You guys are busy. I honestly, I'm glad I even got you guys on in here.
Oh, you're sweet.
You know,
That's sweet.
so I'm super excited to dive into a little bit about you guys' story and how you guys built your business and just overall the back end of how you guys work with others. So for all of our listeners, let's get a little bit of background about who you guys are, and even though I've kind of explained it, what you guys do, and how did you guys get started in the business?
Yeah. Okay. So I was in the Navy, just like right out of high school. I went into the Navy, and then we went to all these cool places like Hong Kong and Australia. And my friend was super into photography, and he was like, "Mike, you should get a decent camera for all these places."
Nice.
And I did, and a film camera.
Okay.
Actually, like a film camera. And so I shot all these places, and then I got back home, and I developed film. It was like 30 rolls of film. It was like $500. It was like my whole paycheck at the time.
Wow.
6 months.
Yeah,
to, like,
yeah. It
develop
was like
these
6
rolls of
months.
film.
Also on the aircraft carrier, where I was like pictures of like jets and things like that. Just like, and I started showing the pictures to everybody, and it was after like the third person that was like, "You should go to photography school after this," and I was like, "Okay." So I looked up photography schools, Brooks Institute of Photography in Santa Barbara.
California.
Yeah, Santa Barbara, California, and so I went there, and it sadly doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
Ernie Brooks
Yeah.
died, and the school kind of went with him. It was a great school though, and
Someone
like
bought
top
the
in the
property.
top school in the world. Yeah,
Remember?
somebody brought actually. So we did a photo shoot for Zack Snyder, and Debbie Snyder.
And he knows the guy that bought the Brooks campus. And it's his
and-
guest
yeah.
house. It's not even his main residence anymore. Yeah.
So yeah, that was actually a really cool connection. And you know who that Zack Snyder is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Big fan of his films.
Yeah, really cool, and he's actually shooting his film. He shoots his last couple films. Like he handheld the video camera, which I thought was pretty good.
He's a real photo nerd, actually.
He is a-
He actually
yeah.
revolutionized,
Really? I didn't know that.
some camera equipment that was like on its way out. They had to find really specific equipment on eBay, And then his
Yeah.
wife, Debbie, who's actually, she's
Producer.
like a major producer. She said that the cost of these particular cameras went way up after he was buying them and
There's only so
repurposing
many on
them.
eBay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did
only
he
so
give did he give like an affiliate link or something?
Yeah, right. No, they're used lenses.
Okay,
they're
yeah,
like
yeah.
used. They don't make them anymore.
Yeah.
They were like Nikkor, I think, 0.95s.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going there.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean, the look in his films look amazing. And I was just shooting medium format film the whole time, which he loved. And would like normally be like a little bit of a flex for any other photographer, but he's Zack
Yeah.
Snyder, so
He's
it's
like,
just
"That's
like okay.
sweet, pat
He's
on
like,
the
yeah.
head."
No, he's like,
Oh, you guys are so cute.
so it was like really, we were geeking the whole time. He actually went to Art Center, which was like another really nerdy photography school.
Okay.
And so you
But
know,
going back to Brooks, that was the original question.
Yeah, so
So you went to Brooks
just-
Institute of Photography.
yeah, I went to Brooks, and so we just started like shooting, and then I met Anna, and we fell in love immediately, pretty much.
Love that.
And then she's like super creative as well. She saw me book like this $2,000 job while I was in school, and she's like, okay,
Well, I was like,
Like,
this
I
business
like
has
that.
some legs because people would call the school and look for student photographers. So they would just be like, hey, we're looking for a student photographer. Luckily, I had actually been in sales, but Michael was calling back these leads, and he got on the call with somebody and just boom, full on booked a $2,000
What is
job.
it? A portrait or
For a wedding.
A wedding.
it was
Yeah.
a wedding,
Wow,
which is like
okay.
obviously not a lot.
Right.
Well, for
but-
honestly, at the time though, we were both
What
students.
is this?
So
how old were you guys, or what year was it?
I mean, I was 23 and he was 25.
no, that's a lot.
So like,
That's a lot.
at the time,
the first time I made 2,500, that was a lot for
yeah,
me.
he
Yeah,
might
I
have
mean,
have been like
If you're in your
20
early
grand.
20s and
Oh, yeah.
if you make, $2,000 off of a day's work,
right.
You're pretty happy.
You're happy.
Well, and I was like, oh, dude, this actually has some legs here because I was actually a theater major
Oh,
at
interesting.
UCSB, and I was starting to start sweating a little bit because we were going to graduate, and I'm like, well, here we are, two creatives, a photographer and a theater major. Like,
That
how
is
are we
cool.
going
I
to?
guess you'll be teaching.
How are we gonna rub two dimes together? But then
Love
he
that.
books this job, and so then I get all aggro, and I start calling back all those leads.
Right.
So our first year, we booked 20 jobs
Yeah.
from the leads people called from, but then also just from like word of mouth, and we bought all of our equipment that first year. We were able to,
But a lot of the paid jobs we were doing at first when we were still going to school,
Right.
we didn't have the equipment for. So we would go to the school checkout
Yeah.
and like just hope that the cameras
No, that's good.
were there that we
Resourcefulness.
needed.
Yeah. Let's talk. Wow, that's
No.
amazing.
Dude, we were so scrappy.
Yeah.
We would book a job and then we would like buy a camera. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because we would get my sister dressed up in her wedding dress to get like some portfolio
Yeah, yeah.
pieces. And he had shot with a couple people like second shooting or whatever. And we put all our, tried to, hodgepodge together a website. Right.
Right.
But that's the thing about business is like you kind of have to just go for it. You
Right,
can't be
right,
like,
right.
oh, I'll be ready after I have all my gear. It's like, no.
I mean, there, some people go through that phase, and it really comes down to their insecurities, right?
Yeah, it's just a block, but like for whatever reason, we just went for it. So luckily, we were able, when we graduated, we were able to not only have all of our equipment now, purchased
Right.
before we had to start like living like adults and pay back student loans and stuff. But then that next year, the year we graduated, we made 6 figures that year. So we never had an awkward phase where we had to get jobs. We just went out of college and started our business.
Wow, that's amazing.
And it is kind of funny because even to this day, we were just talking about this last night. People will be like, "What do you do?" And we're like, "We're photographers." And I'm like, "Is that all you do?"
Yeah, people. And I was asking him. I was
People
like,
are still
why did-
people. You meet somebody and I guess people just don't know a lot of full-time photographers.
well,
I
actually,
guess. Like,
yeah.
that is the truth. It's I think and I want to dive into that and how you guys eventually pivoted that into a full-time career, right? But oftentimes freelancers don't have it figured out. They
Yeah.
don't have the business aspect to put this together.
I think that's actually the key right there, is that we always had each other, and we've had both our skill sets towards this one goal.
Right.
So, because it is true that artists can be really focused on their art and their creative piece, but they're not going out there necessarily like, shaking hands and kissing babies, and you kind of have to have a business acumen also.
Yeah, you have to have I say an acquisitions strategy in order to grow your business.
Yeah.
What do you mean by like acquisition strategy?
Well, acquisition for me, at least, when I talk about it here, my partners here at A+, or even for my business or for my clients in the past, is how do we acquire customers?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like growing customers and whatnot.
So that's a very important part. I think a lot of freelancers struggle with that, whether photographers, videographers, or even graphic designers, right, or anybody. It's that they don't have an acquisitions approach, whether it be outreach or paid ads or organic, they're all strategies.
Yeah, or even an unconscious strategy like us, just being like crazy.
Yeah, just like going for it.
That is the best strategy.
Yeah.
Be
Like,
absolutely nuts. Fuck
Just be
it.
crazy.
No, I don't know. It's funny because like I don't know how this comes off, and it's totally not to be cocky, but it's just about a mindset. And of course, like when you're going to photography school, people are like, "Oh wow, okay, wow, are you gonna?" And so, whenever somebody asks me, they're like, "Should I go to photography school?" Like that. And I would be like, are you going to be successful? So they'd ask me in a timid way, like, should I,
Right.
And I probably like come off like way too intense. I'll be like, all right, well, let me ask you a question. Are you going to be successful? And they'll be like, well, I don't. And I'm like, then don't do it. But if you know that you're going to be successful, then do it.
Yeah, you have to have a...
And it's like, you don't know that you're going to be successful, but it's like, do you have the mindset that you're going to be like, go out there and like hustle?
Yeah, figure it out.
And figure it out. Exactly.
You're resourceful. You guys fucking figure it out with not finding equipment that you guys wanted.
Just go for it.
To me, that speaks volume. When I can see people with like resourcefulness or boldness or courage to do different things, like I think those traits, or what we call them, soft skills, usually allows them
like built-in skills.
Yeah,
baked-in skills.
They're able to use that as part of their business or career path to really like personally grow their businesses or whatever aim that they're going for.
Yeah.
Cool. So thank you for sharing that. I love you guys' story. And by the way, I mean, I mentioned to you guys the first time I met you guys together. You guys are just in sync. Like I can see why you guys are together.
Maybe watching this podcast
what's
will
going
know
on?
what you mean.
What is going on?
We've heard this so many times.
Okay.
Maybe this podcast will
We
watching
should put,
it back.
One of those, like, that camera up in our car on the drive here.
We should, that might be a
we should
series.
We should put video. If
yeah.
people could see the madness that...
The Michael and Anna series
madness.
Or something.
Michael and Anna madness.
Yeah, there you go. A whole new series, guys. Tune in.
It's just crazy.
So you guys mentioned that you guys consider you guys someone who's always seeking to capture art from life. Like, what does that mean to you guys,
Okay. So, and I know it kind of sounds like a little esoteric or like woo woo.
I don't think so. I think
or
it's
whatever.
dope.
How it is because, like, for instance, like this right now, you just like sitting right there, man.
Yeah.
It's cool because like you're in your element. You built this cool studio. It has all this cool lighting.
Yeah.
There's like this bluish lighting, from this.
You created this. This is
Yeah,
artwork.
you created this,
It's
man.
a creation.
And you're there. You look like you're in your element. You look stoked.
Yeah.
And it's just like I want to, just like almost just like take a picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like because that's art right there. You're having
you.
like good emotion and
what's cool
and
about
everything like that,
photography
so-
is that, like, you can capture, a 1/100th of a second frame,
Yes.
and you
Interesting.
can look at your life in slow motion because we live our lives so fast. There's 24 frames per second, when you're watching cinema. So that's so many frames in 1 second, and photography slows down time and it forces you to reflect. And so when we get these great moments of someone like I just saw right now, Michael's picking up his camera and you're like laughing and I'm seeing that moment captured. And now we've captured artwork because we've captured you in your element in this beautiful thing that you created, having a moment that is now gone forever, right? And that's what photography does. And so the artwork of people's life is already happening. Someone needs to witness it and capture it.
I'm so stunned. Like,
Yeah.
I've never heard anybody describe and break down photography in such an elegant way. What's going? Yeah.
So it also refers to, I also see it as like we have a set of parameters, like stylistically, that we adhere to because we desire our photos to look a certain way. So when I'm shooting, I'm at a certain aperture, I'm using a certain film, or a certain digital sensor. I'm using a certain lens that I like, you know, that has like a certain amount of compression. Like, does it shrink you? Does it make you look, you know, wider angle, you know, and I like lighting in a certain way. So it's like, that's also kind of, that's built into that sort of idea is like, we're going to be able to recreate the look that you like from our portfolio,
Right.
like in your deal, you know, in your wedding or your business, your brand photography shoot, your lifestyle shoot, whatever you have going on.
That's awesome. Honestly, like if I'm being completely honest, like I still need a lot of lessons from, you know, equipment utilization.
Yeah, no,
like,
it's
everything
endless.
I've
It's
learned,
endless.
you know, I just, you know, found that on the way. But like when I speak to other photographers and videographers, they're talking about aperture and shutter speed. Like I remember when I started the podcasting, I just like, how do I record my voice and put it out there?
Yeah, it's
And then how do I put a video out to a specific part of my clip for people to see what the podcast was
awesome.
about?
Right.
And yet here you are doing
Yeah.
a podcast.
Yeah.
Podcasts.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's great.
Well, from that, it actually turned into me using that skills in the agency, which then, you know, pivoted into a bunch of other
Right.
opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but when I hear people like you guys, you know, who are industry, you know, like I'm always like stoked. Like, what do you know? How can let me apply that so I can improve my work even better and you know grow from it.
Yeah,
Nice.
for
Yeah.
sure.
So
Awesome.
it's so cool to hear other people talk about, you know, their expertise on especially, you know, on just artwork itself, you know. So thank you
you.
guys for sharing that. you
Of
know.
course.
Of course. Thanks.
Right
thanks.
now, I mean, for you guys,
It's fun to
business,
talk about.
yeah, it's very fun. What kind of customers do you guys work with for people who are listening, just so they can kind of get an idea?
Yeah. Well, you know, for our wedding lifestyle business where we're shooting really for personal reasons. So we shoot anything for people personally, like weddings or events or whatever. I mean, we just got back from shooting in Seattle, a graduation party,
Wow.
but it wasn't just any old graduation party. You know, they like built a platform into the ocean for the dancing and everything. So it was this over the top moment and event, but like every time we show up for one of these things, our process is still the same. And so we really are just shooting mostly at this point for fairly luxury clients, honestly, for that end of it, for the personal side. You know, just really beautiful events and weddings and things of that nature.
We get a lot of like industry people hiring us.
Okay.
Is that what you were asking?
No, I'm just curious. You know, I
Okay.
mean, obviously, you guys also have the course, which we'll break
Yeah.
down as well.
So
Right.
yeah, for personal, so it's funny because when we teach the course, we're actually teaching wedding photographers and videographers. If you're gonna pivot into branding, you have to actually understand that you're no longer actually selling feelings anymore. That's what you're selling when you're shooting for personal purposes.
Love
So
that.
it's kind of like two separate things. But when you're shooting for a business brand, what's really exciting about that for us is that we're still looking for that artwork. We're still looking for how does this business serve their customer, their client at the highest level, and what are they leaving on the table that they're not even telling people
Yeah.
about that we can capture for them. It's the most exciting process creatively, actually, because every business is so different. And so you get into the business with the client and you go through all the you know, the branding principles,
Yeah.
but from the photography or the video perspective. And you create these shoots that can align with beautiful branding, with
Right.
beautiful copy, telling the message. But you know, nowadays people are so busy that if you're able to give them the experience before they have the experience,
Oh,
right?
wow.
You're so much further ahead for this client,
Love
for this
that.
branding client. So the process is actually the exact same thing, but you're now selling a bottom line with a business, right? Because they're going to see an ROI on the photos that you
Yes.
are giving or the video. But when it comes to the course, you know, so we have our photo business, right? Which is the personal or the branding for businesses. But then we have also an online course where we're teaching wedding photographers and videographers how to pivot into branding. And this specific subsect of photographer is really good at branding photography or videography. but they don't always know it. They don't realize it. But the reason why is because when you show up to a wedding, you're showing up to a high stress situation. You are shooting regular people.
Yeah.
People that aren't necessarily wanting to be photographed, right? Because the normal person usually has some kind of hang up, or at least somebody in the group's going to.
Right.
And you have to be able to enter into the group and become a part of this day and make it easy and fun and capture people authentically. So you take that skill set that you learned from shooting, personal projects like weddings or things like that, and you bring it to a business, and now you can actually capture these regular people, serving at a high level and all that sort of thing. So it's exciting from the course level to see people, to tell photographers what's possible and how you can add this into your offerings.
Right.
Because you actually already have the skills.
Right. And it's just a matter of just putting in structure. I mean, working with business for me, and I think that's one of the reasons why I've never gone into working with like portraits or personal videos or anything like that, because it makes me nervous. Like, what if I fuck up, right? With businesses, I can structure it, I can predict, like at least minimize possible risks of, fucking shit up, basically.
You know what's funny?
No.
we still get nervous.
Oh yeah.
Like before weddings.
Yeah, I've seen you like kind of get nervous sometimes. I'm like, oh, and what comes out is more amusing to me sometimes.
It's nerve wracking, you know?
Yeah.
Every time.
Oh my gosh, when Michael and I first started and we would be going on our way to a wedding, we had this whole routine. We were so freaked out of our minds. We would go to Cajun Kitchen, which is like a diner in Santa Barbara, and we'd be like, let's get a really big breakfast because we're not going to eat all day. And we'd be like, okay, let's think of shots. What shots? We'd bring like a notebook and we'd be like writing down like, okay, let's do this shot and that shot, and until we started shooting, like that nerves, like once you're in the present moment doing almost anything, you're usually fine by the time you get to the present moment.
No, for sure.
Yeah. But the leading up anxiety.
Oh, trust me. I was nervous trying to set this up for you guys because I've had this setup. This is the first time too.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. No, it's true. So that is one of the really great things about.
It paid off.
Yeah. It looks amazing in here.
Thank you.
But you were saying about, specifically not doing the personal piece just because those
people have asked me to do events, family events, portrait pictures. I'm like, no, I don't do that.
You're like, no thanks, I don't want to.
I suck at it. Let me recommend somebody else better.
You're like,
for you.
and that's another important piece is knowing what you do and don't do,
For sure.
and saying no to the things that you just are not creatively aligned with. You know.
Yeah. So as you mentioned that you guys did have processes, and you mentioned that these are experiences that makes you guys' service way more valuable, right? Can you guys talk a little bit about your photography experience, both from the personal and business or branding side?
Yeah, I mean, from the personal side, it's really about the experience, making sure the experience is really consistent, and that the client really feels every step of the experience with you is really high level, starting from the initial call. The initial call that we have with a potential client, right then. Obviously, you're always wanting to do your best when you book somebody, but your brain has this down regulating thing that happens after they're already booked, right? Like you're like, okay, I'll take care of them, but it's like you're not as worried. So that's when you have to turn it up even more and be like, okay. So then with the personal client, we talk about, we're going to really help you through this process. We're going to make sure, if we're talking about a wedding, that your wedding day timeline is going to be really in place. We're going to perfectly craft it so the photography piece is really set up in the right way. We're not going to just show up and be like, oh, that sucks that the sunset happened right during your first dance. We don't know anything. We're going to go through your timeline ahead and be like, so just so you know, the sunset, can we talk to maybe your planner and rework that so that it could be perfect? Or there's so many things I could go into detail about on that end.
That's some very detailed approach.
Just a quick thing that's really important about it is there'll be divorces. There's always, a family, the family portrait session of the wedding, which could last from 5 minutes to almost an hour, depending on what they want. And, sometimes people could be just really, let's see, to put it nice, like immature about at a divorce or something, and they'll be like, okay, I don't want my mom and my dad in the same shot.
Hey, voice community. Quick commercial break. Are you running a business and you're looking for a trusted partner to help you brand your business effectively through merch, designs, and branding? I want to introduce you guys to our partners, A Plus Branding, a custom printing shop that takes care of all your branding needs. Located in Santa Paula, California, A Plus Branding specializes in custom t-shirts, hats, stickers, banners, deco, buildings, or window decals. They do it all. They've helped me a lot personally, ensuring that I am representing my business properly, and I recommend you do too. They have a website that you can design your custom items directly to their online store. You can hop on their site, create your design, and place your order in just a few clicks. Whether you need a single item or a bulk order for your business or event with custom stickers, shirts, or a banner for an event, or even embroidered uniform for your team, they got you covered. On top of that, they'll ship your order straight to your door. You can use the promo code VOICED to get 10% off your first orders over $100 to get started. You can head over to their website at www.aplusbranding.com and start designing today. Now back to the show.
You know what I mean? Because they'll start arguing.
Yeah.
Or this one wedding, everybody was divorced and they were so cool that their exes brought their new spouses to the wedding. And
We saw all sorts of
and
stuff
they
at
were
weddings.
just, it was
It's
like they
all
were
packages.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were just with them. They were so, that was
what's
amazing.
exciting.
And you know what's so funny? Their parents were divorced and they had the same thing going on. Like both sets of spouses showed up.
Everyone was
and everybody was
BFF.
just so cool.
It looks like they have a sense of solidarity on that end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
They're
I
like,
love
well,
that.
we're still gonna love each other even though we're divorced. But
I mean,
yeah,
they already paid for the service, right? Might
Yeah,
as well fucking work with it.
yeah,
But that's cool that you guys have this process to make sure that you create that outstanding experience, memorable experience.
yes, yeah, and
Right?
and it doesn't stop. So before the wedding, we really make sure everything's like perfect. So like he was saying, if the bride and groom's parents are divorced, we have to understand, well, what's the dynamics?
Yeah.
And then we schedule it accordingly. So if we got to do mom at the end and dad at the beginning because they're gonna feel whatever, then we'll do it. But then obviously the wedding day itself. You know, Michael and I we want the bride and groom to have a great day, obviously. And so that experience is really important to us that if we feel that they're stressed or that we come in and we make it feel like, this is no big deal. This is like, so that they can be present on their own wedding day, which seems obvious, but a lot of people don't actually really enjoy their wedding day very much.
Really? They're probably all stressed out.
Because they're really
anxious.
They
stressed.
plan for a year,
Yeah.
and you could just on the wedding day just be like, look, you planned everything. You thought this through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been worried about. Now just enjoy.
It's time to be in the moment.
And
Yeah.
even just saying that could help, but it is kind of amazing because sometimes people just can't get out of their own heads.
Yep.
That being said, I feel like we both specialize in being able to enter a room and just make things more lighthearted.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I've gotten actually several emails from brides telling me that they were really nervous and Michael walked into the room and he calmed them down.
That's a skill.
Just by his energy. So
That's a skill. The welcoming energy. Yeah.
So then after the wedding, we send a preview of our favorite photos as the photographer, and we actually send it with a video of us explaining the images. And that's
Wow.
really, really key because we're taking time to tell them that their day was important, that these photos, specific ones we're pointing out, were what I call gifts. We couldn't have planned them ahead.
She's really good
We
at that.
point out the ones that they could make as printed artwork in their home. Sometimes they're photos that aren't even of people. It could be a landscape. We'd be like, this would be amazing over a fireplace. Bring the art of your life into your home. So we just really make sure that experience is like perfect. But the experience has to be perfect when you charge a really high rate.
Right.
Because these people are used to amazing experiences.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And that's awesome. And then as far as like on the working with businesses side, I really love how you guys have mentioned, working with businesses and distinguishing that difference. Because, you have structure, but also you're trying to convey less of emotion, but how do we communicate their personalities, for their customers?
people still want like a personality, and it's funny because usually
I agree.
like
I mean,
a
social
business,
media, so.
it's
more important than ever.
Yeah. Like a business will set up a shoot with like a branding company, and then like they'll hire a photographer. We're like, oh, we hired this guy, to shoot our employees and stuff. and they walk in and they're all like business and like serious.
Yeah.
And it's just like that feel is so awkward. It's so much better if you could walk in and be like, "What's up, guys?"
Yeah.
Not like a, not like a,
Well, that
like a
energy-
showman or something.
Yeah.
Because it's not about you, but just be like, "Hey, yeah, we're having fun. Let's just have fun," or as much as possible when you're having your photo taken.
Yeah, but it also
You know?
there only is so much you can capture if you set it up from a stage perspective to begin with. So there really is an art to this. And actually, when we first started shooting brand photos, we kind of fell into it. Actually, there was a inquiry for headshots for a law firm, which. No offense to law firms, but that's not the most creative thing I could think of is doing headshots of lawyers. But I went to their website and I looked at their copy. Their copy had a lot of heart to it. Actually had a lot of storytelling to it.
A bunch of brothers, actually.
But their
3
photos
brothers.
were really bad headshots and stock photos mostly. They had invested in some video, which was great. And I love video. Video is critical. And photos will tell you something like instantly. A photo's worth 1,000 words, right? So it helps to get people to like watch a video if it's like working together, right? Anyways, I pitched them an idea for some brand photography that was going to just really loosen it up and tell their story photographically. And what happened is they hired us for this shoot. They didn't even want it. It was honestly just because I was like, you guys have to let us shoot this. It's going to be so amazing. Like, I'm just seeing visions of your business. I can't not shoot this now. And that's like why they went with it. And even on the day of, the head attorney who hired us was like, yeah, that's great. I just care about the headshots. Like, he did not care at all, right? And so, but he ended up hiring a super high level website brand
After
agency.
being convinced by Anna that branding was important.
Thank you, honey.
And it's like 6 months later, and then the agency, like, I'll let you tell the rest of the story.
Well, it is funny because I was harping on this a lot with him, and like I think something got into his mind because he ended up hiring a really huge website agency to do his, and these website
from
agencies
wanting headshots.
Yeah, right. So this website company, they do these really big website builds, and when they saw the photos that we took, they were like, "Oh my gosh, you guys get it! You actually get it." So I had a call with them, and then they started referring us to their clients, which was amazing because they have these high level clients, and so we're already. But what was more incredible about it is that the hunch that I had about the storytelling piece and the method that I had kind of pieced together just from intuition, I ended up seeing this amazing agency's back end, and I was able to see how they brand, and I was able to confirm that I was on the right track and sharpen my saw even more from, being kind of like, allowed behind the curtain, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no.
So that's how we created really a brand process for the photographers.
Actually, it doesn't make sense at all, what you just said.
What, I didn't?
No, I'm just kidding.
Gosh, honey.
so
You're like punking me. You're like, I'm confused. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Let me listen to her.
So then they were so excited to just like, hire us as part of that whole new branding process and new website they were doing for them. And so it was only natural, to like do the photos for them.
Yeah. No, honestly, I mean, I can't.
No, I'm confused. What are you talking about?
I can't emphasize the importance.
Okay. Now you're fucking me.
Sorry.
That's okay.
We'll stop. Go ahead.
He tried to get you back.
She
I
did.
was confused the second
She did.
time for a minute.
How naive? I thought I was naive.
Oh, they got me there. Okay. No, I just wanted to point out that, like, for me, like, I think a lot of businesses, fail to see that because oftentimes it only makes sense for them from a metric standpoint, right? Like, oh, how do you know that what you're saying actually makes sense? But in actuality, it's like, it's not just the numbers that there's a lot of things happening that we can't track. And this is one of my biggest problems when I was doing my services, right? There were so many things that like has happened for businesses. Like, oh yeah, you just reached 30,000, yeah, we don't have fucking metrics because you don't have a fucking great website.
Right.
How am I going to track that? But also like there's other things that we can't track. Like how often what are the possibilities of someone making a better decision to purchasing your service to decide that, hey, you know what? I'm going to pick them instead of these people because I like what they stand for.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, that's the conversation between competition and creativity. Because competition
good.
only gets as high as someone has been creative to when you're already, right? So people
Right.
are only looking at each other
Yeah.
to compete. But everything is pushed forward through creativity. That's the metric you cannot track because it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, exactly.
And so if you
Exactly.
can be a pioneer and you can trust your intuition and just start throwing spaghetti at the wall, you actually get places way quicker because you're forging honestly new markets that didn't even
Yeah.
exist. You're having a passion behind what you're talking about. That's a big thing people don't understand is like you get into, let's say, a creative industry because you're passionate about it. If you start doing well and you make a little bit of money, what can happen is that now you're trying to hold on to what you created,
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
get like
absolutely.
scarcity mindset and fear, and then
Yeah.
you start looking at everybody else and what are they doing.
Yeah.
And then if people call, you start doing this like apples for apples sales technique, which is like, oh, well, they're offering that, well, let me I'll
Yeah,
offer this,
exactly.
right? But if you're offering something that nobody else is offering, you now have no competition and you're pushing forward. And Michael and I have seen this over the years because, you know, we've been doing this a while. And so
Right.
we'll get an idea for something. We'll get excited about it. We'll start talking to our clients about it. We'll put it out there. And then we'll start seeing other people doing it too, right? And we go, stop doing the things we're doing. It's so annoying. We worked hard for that. But then we're like, oh, that's a signal. Time to start being creative again. And you have to kind of stay in that loop, kind of like forever. There's kind of no like, let me go swing on the hammock and chill. I think that we made that mistake at one point in our business where we kind of got to a great level and we thought it was just going to kind of stay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then the market changed and things shift and we're like, what's happening? Like we were confused.
It's like that book, Who Moved My Cheese?
I haven't
Yeah.
read it.
Well, the point is like the only thing constant is change.
Oh, right.
So you got to just like lace up and do something new again.
So the thing that's going to book you the most jobs, I feel like, is instead of worrying about what other people are doing, just get so passionate about the thing you do, and the way to.
You got to stop moving around, honey. You're,
okay.
you're messing up the microphone
Sorry, I just
system.
treat me like a statue.
It's actually the headphones, so we're good in the mic.
Okay.
We're recording perfectly.
Is to like really get in touch with like the type of art, like what do you want to produce? What do you want the world to see? What are you truly passionate about? Like get in touch with that.
Yeah.
And then create that. And what's the word I'm looking for? Where it trumps competition.
For sure. Yeah.
You know, it's just like you don't think about being competitive.
Yeah.
You're just trying to be passionate and do the thing that you
Yeah.
love.
I always think that like if you're constantly working on things that you like and you're constantly improving, I would say in the long run, it's very hard for a competitor or a competition to catch up because they're never going to know what's your next move.
Yeah.
And you're not even
You know?
thinking about it in like a competitive way,
Yeah,
ironically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're just trying to
You're
grow
just trying to
yourself.
follow your
Yeah,
passion.
you should be
Yeah.
your biggest competitor. And
Right.
so going back into what we mentioned with the brand photography, you know, like I said, going back into how, you know, they want to measure the results. And these are things that businesses or brands don't really, you can't track easily.
Which is what?
To a period. Well, you know, the metrics, how often do they buy stuff, you know? And I've argued this a while back before I started offering paid services. And now I think they're, you know, or paid ads or direct services, direct response services. Because usually in the past, I've only focused on like organic branding and, you know, ramping up your social media. Then I started considering, okay, how do we generate sales and leads?
Right.
So
like more purposefully, more
yes,
directly.
yes, there is a way to track it, you know? And
So what do you do?
It's something I learned from other marketers. This is
Okay.
why I was able to improve my services and kind of
It's
allocate
okay
it.
if you don't want to give away your
No,
secrets.
it's okay. It's actually, I think everybody should know it. If you're in the branding space and you really want to measure the success of your customers' results from your creative work, you have to get their analytics. You have to have access to it.
Like in what
Like for example,
through Instagram?
let's take a
through their
website. Let's take the website for a minute, right? Okay. If you have a generic website and you can see how many people are entering leads or buying out products or services from you directly through e-commerce, right? And let's say you start putting out content, right? Let's say before they hired you, they're putting out this much amount of content. then the time they hired you, you can say, okay, I put amount this month of content, same amount, and your sales have increased.
Right.
Now,
Yes.
of course, it's not as easy to track, but like these are like again, these are things that are
I remember
invisible.
you
Yeah.
little shout out to BNI.
Mhm.
I remember you talking about that
Yeah.
at BNI. Yeah.
It's what scares a lot of people to get into the whole branding side or other businesses working with them. It's you're not trying to just have a commodity being exchanged. You're trying to tell your story.
Right.
Yeah.
So like if how important is your story for you to tell to customers, you know,
Yeah.
like
Right.
how important is that? If your brand is really something that you want to stand out for, then you have to be willing to be authentic and do something
Ooh,
different.
Right.
Authenticity is so key, and that it's thrown around.
Mhm.
But if you really get to the core of the meaning, then it makes you like very introspective. Like,
Yeah.
really, what am I about? What do I want to produce?
Yes.
What do I want to
Yes.
give to the world?
Yeah. I've actually noticed that when I'm doing some of these branding calls, I have to be very sensitive about what I'm asking. For people that are already ready to hear maybe ideas of what they could do to improve their business, they're excited. But for people that are feeling like too much of a perfectionist, like they almost take it like personally that they haven't done it yet. You know, you got to be a little careful because you can, if you ask them a new question they haven't thought of yet, they can kind of clam up or get a little defensive. And so it's interesting psychologically too, what people like, what bodies they want to
Give an
see
example.
buried and like
Yeah,
not
yeah.
see
Give an
buried.
example of a question, not to.
Like for instance, if I just said to somebody like, oh, you know, we're going to keep you in your lane and we're going to tell your story. But just so I know, who do you sit on the shelf with? Who are your competitors? Just so I can see what other people might be looking at,
Yeah.
you know? And they start getting kind of like nervous about telling me or, well, this person does this. Well, I don't like that about that person and blah, blah, blah. Like they
You can
just
see
get
that
kind of
easily, right?
defensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of a more simple question, just for me as like, before we do a shoot, before I send you a proposal of the different shoots I'm thinking for you, I kind of want to know in your space what people are also going to be looking at. It's just like kind of good information to know.
Right.
And people can get, you know, a little defensive.
That's so interesting
They
because
just get in their own heads.
it's so
Yeah.
interesting when working with clients as well. That's one of the questions that triumphs them a little bit. It's like, oh, I don't have any competitors, just me. No. I'm not doing it to say that they're better than you or you're, you know, less than them. I'm trying to figure out what the market is already predetermining based on variables such as their color schemes, their how do they represent themselves, you know,
Right.
their choice of verbiage.
And
Yeah.
Oh, you're really trying to break it out scientifically.
Yeah, I break
that's
shit
great.
down.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
I've learned to break shit
I
down.
mean, that's like
Yeah.
quantifying the universe right there.
Absolutely.
Like, that's,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
that's really good.
And yeah, and it's you know, if
Is
you
that
don't
what you're
have-
saying? Where you'll do? Because I remember you talking about this before as well. Like you'll do three different ads of the same thing, and you'd be like, they clicked on that one that has like a navy blue versus the gold. They clicked on that like
That
three
could
times
be-
as much.
Yeah, usually it doesn't get to that point yet, but like if all the other
For the-
variables are the same and you're getting the same outcome, and you
Yeah.
say you change this color to this color, and you say this one has a different result, then that's probably it. You know, and to me, I look at like this stuff.
I mean,
kind of
it matters.
more. Yeah.
Do you notice, for instance, every single video app logo has some sort of blue?
Oh no, I didn't know.
If
that.
you like, almost every single one now. Have you noticed that? And that wasn't always the case.
This
It's like
is where Michael is a microscopic viewer of
Okay.
life,
Yeah.
and I'm a macroscopic viewer of life. And we recently had to hire
Interesting
somebody that's in the middle.
Wait,
Because he'll
what
start
is that?
talking. He'll start talking
I'm
about
like-
literally how
I-
Apple's using blue,
Uh-huh.
and I'm looking at him like, huh? You know.
actually they don't use blue. They're secret. Actually, their secret color. Okay, I've spoken to like Apple, like somebody that was like in the design team.
Yeah.
is actually colorless.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
You've lost me at this point.
Okay,
I have
no,
no
I-
idea what you're talking about.
I understand that there's a scope.
that's
to,
their brand color. It's like
No, but I
there's
understand
color.
that there
Yeah.
is a microscopic approach to the details, but I have not dived that far.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
That's amazing
I-
that you've
I
done
almost
it.
felt like you had because you were
Probably.
talking about variables
I could probably get to it too.
and like ad specifics and like performance
Yeah, trust me,
metrics
I'm
based
still
on that.
learning. I literally
Yeah.
ask a friend of mine who has done advertising for a while, and I always like I'm probably annoying in his shoes, and I'm always asking him, hey, what does this do? What is that? What, like
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I bet it probably
loving it.
reminds him of the things that are, maybe
Yeah.
you should, yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting. Well, one time we went to an event and I invited him actually, and then there's some things that I didn't know. He mentioned that, oh, look, this brand has this specific color and it attracts this type of demographic. I'm like, huh?
Yeah, for
I was
sure.
like, oh, wow.
For
Yeah,
sure.
I don't
Well,
think
I
that,
think about it. Think of
Yeah.
if Olive, Ralph Lauren.
Uh-huh.
What if all his clothes were like pink from now on?
Then, yeah, wow.
That's like a very broad, blunt force like way of looking at it.
Yeah.
But it's just like people have preferences.
Yeah, it's true.
And it's like they associate your brand. Pink would be like a feminine color.
Yeah.
So it would make sense that like even if like Anthropologie, which is like I think one of the coolest like
I love that.
only women. I wish they made clothes for guys. But even if they started, they're obviously like earth tones and like really cool textures and everything like that. If all their clothes started being pink, you wouldn't look at the brand the same way.
No.
Yeah.
No, I can't think of any brain on top of my head right now because I'm too busy being an interviewer. But
No.
but I get
we
what
can
you're
move
saying.
on to the next thing.
No, I love it. Now, do you guys incorporate any of these like for working with brands as far as like okay, cool. I think this type of photography with this features work best for you because it best represents your brand. Or is that kind of like this process go?
We are lifestyle photographers, so we shoot authentic lifestyle no matter what we're shooting.
Right.
So we're just telling the truth artfully,
Love that.
and we're not really trying to do veer too much from what we like to shoot. I will say that brand photography tends to just, I think just by the nature of what it is, shooting businesses, it tends to just kind of look a little different. But no, we try to stick with our style as much as we can and
Love
just
that.
capture people authentically. If we need to do something like setup of, because we shoot a lot of natural light, we shoot a lot of in the moment, we shoot really in people's spaces. But if we need to set up a whole shoot with, a backdrop and lights, we will. But
You try to avoid it. Try to go for more natural.
yeah,
newer stuff.
Michael,
Going
actually, we were just editing a really cool shoot that we did for a company called Yoga Anytime, and he shot these beautiful shots for them with the white
We
seamless.
did a
and
studio, the whole thing.
They were beautiful, and it still was within our style. But I would say it's always good to make sure your photos just look like someone goes, "That's Michael and Anna,"
Yeah,
That's good, that's
and
good.
when it's a static background, it was just sort of this, like soft, like mauve sort of color background, and the lighting was warm. We tried to keep the lighting warm, which is consistent, but it's artificial lighting because it's
Okay.
in a studio.
Yeah, it has to.
So, but that was fun actually. Come
Yeah.
to think of it.
I mean, I think that there's certain brands wouldn't be a fit for us, and I think that's okay.
Yeah.
You
love
shouldn't
that.
really be shooting for everybody if it's just gonna be weird. It doesn't go with their brand,
Yeah, I get it. Sometimes people get, thirsty or hungry for money, right? That they want to shoot that stuff. But I definitely agree. If you know what you're going back to what you mentioned earlier, it's knowing what you are best at and saying no to the things you're not, and that's okay.
Yeah, and actually, I do have a belief because we were talking a little bit before about like the competition and the creativity and not having metrics for certain things.
Yeah.
And I've kind of learned like when you say an overt no to something you really know you're not aligned to, it's probably going to turn out into a bunch of work that because you took on this project that wasn't
Yeah.
aligned,
Oh
it's
my
going to be a
gosh.
client that's going to be a big headache. When you say no to it, and I don't want to get too woo-woo here, but you're making space for the right
Yes.
thing. So you have to see it as a win. Like every time you say no, like do a little happy dance. Like if you send an email to somebody and be like, we're not a fit or I'm not available for that, be like, yes, something great's coming. And I know you
That's good.
can't like have a metric for that,
Yeah,
but that's
yeah.
always how it works out. And it's actually uncanny because sometimes there'll be something I'm like, oh, that'd be so easy to go shoot that. And it's kind of like good and it's on a date, we could do it. And like, why would I not do it? But I'm like, I just don't want to. I just say no, and then literally like the phone will ring for something amazing that day, or
Wow.
or I'll get an email the next day, and I pay attention to that stuff because, again, when you break past the creativity into the creative realm where there's no metrics, there's no nothing, you have to kind of make your own little hacks in your mind of how it's going to work out, and then when you see it come, you have to be like, okay, that did work
You
out.
have to use that as a
That is
reasonable
my
cost.
metric.
That's
Yeah.
that's your reason, or that's your what I call evidence.
Yeah.
you know, and when you create more evidence for yourself, you validate or not validate, but rather, you know, I guess push yourself more forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
By the way, are
That's
these
great.
available for consumption?
Would
I
you
have
like one?
Yeah.
I actually
Could you
have
get me
one
one of
that's
those?
frozen, cold if you want.
Ooh, I would love that.
Okay, I will get you one. Give me a second.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was trying not to interrupt the flow.
never had anybody ask me in the middle of a shoot.
I think you should just leave this whole thing in. I'm serious. It's better. Just leave it in.
Keep it. I just had it.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to point this away from the opening.
What do we have here?
Yeah, I would join you guys, but I just had a bang, so.
Well,
it's already been-
hey, there's not. Your brain will just down-regulate the caffeine. You might as well.
I love it. Are you guys active caffeine consumers?
No,
Not us.
not at all.
Just
Never.
Bonnie's?
I think we take caffeine pills.
We never
Oh,
imbibe in caffeine. Is it imbibe or imbib?
my partner over
I
there
think it's
also
imbibed.
drinks a lot of caffeine or
Yeah,
caffeine
we
pills.
try to-
You
We
told
go
us
through
about
phases.
the caffeine pills
Yeah.
too.
Well, I just went through a phase where I was off of them,
Okay,
but I'm on them now. If I'm going to be honest,
I have my phases as well. Where I'm
I
just
hadn't
like,
taken any today, but yeah,
Does it feel nice?
this is nice. This is nice.
I gotta ask because
Yeah.
I kind of have an addiction. I'm just being
Yeah, I
upfront.
know.
Really, who doesn't?
Yeah,
Or
I
for
mean-
something.
especially if you're in this
You gotta
game,
have
right?
one or two things. Let's be honest. I just quit specifically Diet Coke,
Uh-huh.
but only that, and I'm very proud of myself.
Love that.
You should be. Man, she was like super.
No, I was
No,
like
it's
legit walk
addicting.
of shame,
super addicted.
going to
Walk of
7-Eleven, big gulps for breakfast.
Wow.
It was bad. Look at Charles's
Yeah,
face.
that was pretty gross. Yeah,
No.
it's pretty
I'm,
gross.
I'm
No, I was,
happy for you.
I was disgusted.
I'm not disgusted. I mean, you know,
He was disgusted.
I avoid
No, I was-
soda. You know, the only one I drink is probably Sprite because sometimes my stomach gets a little, you know, I need a little bit of
Right.
sparkling in me.
You're right.
It was just like a really bad habit. You know, sometimes you like you have a bad habit and you just you don't even
Trust
like
me.
it,
Yeah,
and you're just like why am I doing this every day? So I just had to
that's
stop
good.
the insanity.
Glad you broke the habit.
Thank you.
Maybe we'll create a new addiction.
But Michael bought me a Soda Stream, so I have like
You know what
a
that is? You
sparkling
just make your
water
own.
thing. It makes sparkling at
Oh, okay.
home, so it's just water and sparkling, so it's much healthier.
That's awesome. I mean, shit. Maybe I might get some from mine as well. Okay, I want to ask you guys
What's the next one?
between branding.
You got one more question.
No, I got more.
I'm just kidding.
We keep going off topic.
Between you know more personal customers, you know, more luxurious wedding portraits, right, versus branding. What do you guys prefer more?
The weddings we've been doing and the portrait stuff we've been doing for longer, and I shouldn't say it's easy, but it's extremely easy. In that there's nothing that can throw us about it.
Okay.
But on the day of, we can always be really creative in the moment because it's always a new group, it's a new place.
Yeah.
But the structure of our wedding, it just doesn't, no matter how much people try to have their wedding be different than everybody else's, it really. So honestly, I tell my clients actually that Michael and I just love shooting together and it's almost like a date night. And most of the time it kind of is. We just have a great
Yo,
time.
that's relationship goals.
it.
We love
How,
it.
how do I get there, guys?
Get a girl you like.
That's really
Put the
crazy.
mic on. Put the mic on.
Oh, sorry.
Put the mic on, Michael.
Find a
Oh,
girl.
you push
Find
it
a girl
back.
you like. Find
You can
somebody.
push it back.
Find somebody you like. You know,
Yeah.
and that somebody like has values aligned with yours. That's just as crazy as you are, or
Okay.
is like you're kind of crazy.
I haven't found anybody that crazy.
Everybody has their own. Well, you haven't found the right one yet, then.
I've been looking. Oh, okay. You pulled it again. All right, cool.
Okay.
All right. So, what was I going with this thing?
Yeah, but the branding, so the weddings is like
Yeah.
really fun, hard work, but we've done it so often. And we've talked about this too. At the end of a wedding day, you just feel really accomplished. Like you just feel like I did a thing today. Like this, and I captured something and it's all here for them. And there's no way you can, like to what you were saying before, there's no way you can
Quantify.
do it again, right? It's the day happens and it's over. So it's a very
But
high pressure but exciting feeling.
The brand stuff is really fun too.
I love brand stuff.
Like we did this shoot for Sunstone Winery, and it was a grape stomp for their members. And it was just, they were like stomping grapes, like barefoot stomping grapes and walking around in between, the vineyard and, their main, there's a specific term for it. Winemaker guy. His name's Bion. Yeah.
Okay.
I think he actually has his own label now. But, he's going through talking about the creation of wine. And that was all really fascinating and fun, too. And it was, like, fun to hang out,
So you shop for
Yeah.
them? Yeah, I think that's a cool thing about working with brands. You get to learn about their business and why they started it.
Yeah.
This is why I do what I do. So I get to learn about you guys' stuff.
See?
Totally.
Oh,
It-
can you put your
absolutely.
mic down?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
More down.
And so, yeah, sure. So it's like covering half my face.
Yeah.
So, and Anna's actually really good at drilling down and finding like people's why and stuff like that.
Ooh.
Yeah. And
Ooh, that's such a great tool to get more
Yeah.
but also
direction.
sometimes there's more, sometimes, this isn't fair, but it just is. I think people recognize, not all shoots, especially they vary a little more wildly for brand. It's easy to go. I'm not easy, but because everything has, but it's like kind of like fun to go to a grape stomp, which is like filled with fun photos, and then you go to the vats, these big shiny vats that they're pouring all this like grape juice into to make wine, and he has like beakers that he's swirling stuff around and showing how the tannins and stuff separate and all the winemaking science. And of course you're shooting all that in black and white because it looks cool with all this silver and it's like fun to geek out
Yeah.
on that type of thing, whereas like another thing
You like wine?
we don't really drink actually,
Oh.
but
Well, you're gonna have
I
a
like
funny,
I like people that drink wine. I like people. I love people to do whatever they want. But yeah, we don't drink.
Okay.
But yeah, so I mean that obviously lends itself to so many fun environments.
Yeah, we find ourselves in different
And-
places. And also with branding, there's a lot more pre-production. So
Yes.
the piece about branding that's also interesting is that these big ad agencies have creative directors, art directors that set up these shoots. But for this middle of the road businesses that still have a decent, or really pretty awesome budget for photography or video, they might not be spending six figures plus for this huge, marketing campaign.
Yeah.
And that's where the creativity with the photographer can actually step in, because you can put yourself in that place of being the creative director and, doing the branding for them.
Yeah.
And so that pre-production piece is really important.
He's fixing it for me now.
And it takes, I know.
I see the cable.
Yeah. So it takes a lot of time up front, more time than for the personal stuff. Because for that, we are making sure that the day goes great, and but we're capturing largely what they planned, and for the branding, we're setting it up for them specifically. So
Yeah, it kind of makes it easy for them. All right, one more question.
One more question. Okay, I'm sorry. You gotta go. No, actually, what I want to dive into.
you were the one that was waxing poetic forever about the wine stomp.
For the rest of the time, it's gonna be like one more question.
I do. I want to dive to you guys' program and course, right? You guys just started this
Yeah.
recently. I think that was
Yeah,
the
we're
last time
super
we talked
excited about it, yeah.
Let's dive into a little bit about that so that we
Okay.
can kind of for
Yeah.
our listeners. to-
Yeah.
For CostaEducation.com. Yep.
Yeah, thank you for asking about that.
Yeah.
We were just really passionate about empowering photographers and businesses. So one thing that's been really amazing about doing this course is seeing the photographers we're teaching go to businesses and impart this branding method on them and be able to come back and be like, oh my gosh, these businesses are on fire. They're so excited. We were able to do these photos for them, and it's crazy too, because I'm seeing my students actually start to build a budding business of their own. Like they're like, well, I know how to do their website was awful and I know how to do that. So I offered them a website package too. Like they're like building these businesses from this
We've seen
seedling idea.
like people make money based off of like her coaching.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like legit money, like a lot of money. And it's really cool to see actually.
Yeah, it just feels great to, instead of going out and doing, there's only so many shoots that we could physically do, right? Like
Right,
if
right.
even we went out and did one every single day, which is physically impossible. There's thousands and thousands of businesses out there that really need authentic photos. And I learned this when I worked with working with these marketing agencies, because I'd see the other photography or the other photographers that they're referring, and I would see the same thing. It's like, here's the thing that's interesting about websites is that from a technical perspective of someone who's building a website, they're really interested into the specs.
Yes.
Because it drives them absolutely nuts if you shot everything like portrait and they need it landscape because they've got a whole big
That's
banner.
so funny because I was just building a website. I'm
Yeah.
like, I had to create a
Isn't
certain
that like
way.
the-
Yeah.
And they're like, now I got to like clone in all this extra
Oh my
stuff.
gosh,
and
that's so
it's driving
funny.
me absolutely crazy. So, but you also tend to get photographers that aren't really that creative. The photos are a little bit like boring, you know, and yeah, you got all these different angles and you can put text over here on the left because the photographer left room.
Yeah, right.
But the photo itself is like, okay. So what's exciting is to empower photographers to be like, look, these photos are going to probably, a lot of them go on a website. You need to make sure that you leave, you do a hero shot and that you leave some space for this and that you can have,
wow.
so they can play around with this and at the same time, feel free to shoot this more artfully, to shoot this more
Yeah.
authentically, so that you're telling the story so that it actually matches the copy. It actually matches what the goal is, right? Which is that somebody goes to the website, they see what they're looking for, they see it in the photo, they see it in the copy, and it's all going together,
Love
right?
that.
And so I just think that it's a little niche that needs to be filled a little bit better than it previously has been filled.
So you guys have a kind of a technical approach to this branding course as well, right?
Well, yeah, part of it is telling them, hey, this is what an ad agency is going to want. They're
It's
going to
a
get really
system for sure.
irritated.
Yes.
They're going to get really irritated with you. Like one thing is that try to have the work look consistent. You don't actually want to necessarily flex for the sake of flexing to show all the different things you can do. You want consistency in the site. So send them a batch of photos that can work for the site is like one cohesive thing. You don't want it to, be outdoors and natural light and then do this like super edgy indoor lighting with like off, camera, different things going on. And so telling them what the website companies are looking for helps them get referrals from these big ad agencies so that everybody's happy.
That's actually very insightful because, oftentimes I think photographers tend to operate from a very creative standpoint. And going back into, portrait and personal versus business, I think with business, it allows you to become a little bit more structured, right? And you kind of have an idea of where to leave room for creativity, but also leave room for structure.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, you learn this when you shoot weddings because you're on a
Yes.
team.
Yes.
Here's the thing, and this goes for a lot of things. If you're structured, you could be more creative
Okay.
because you're not worried about the details.
I think
Does that make sense?
I think that's where I thrive in.
Yeah.
I tend to be like, I don't like mess. So my natural reversion is to be structured and organized. But also I like to be spontaneous and risky and random. So that leaves room for creativity. It's an
Yeah.
interesting balance,
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
It is.
Yeah.
It totally
No,
is.
it really
So
is.
speaking
yeah.
of self balance, I gotta ask. I mean, like, how are you guys balancing, strengths and weakness, or how do you guys work about the business from day to day?
Yeah, good question.
Guys
I
are
don't
very
even
in sync.
know.
It's
I mean, we have 2 kids too. So.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. How do you guys balance all
Yeah.
that?
we bit off more than we could chew.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
It's like I actually have a bunch of projects right now,
Well,
so we gotta
okay,
go.
interestingly
Like
enough,
people,
we've fallen into some natural roles. And actually, the
Yeah.
other day, I decided, hey, we need to. We have a small business, right? I mean,
right.
it's the 2 of us, plus our office assistant Amanda, who we love, and we have a couple other people helping us, a little kind of part time or whatever. But it's it's not like this huge crew. So, but I actually did an Excel spreadsheet, and I was like, okay, if our business was, let's say a big business, there's a lot of different departments. Think of the office, right?
Yes.
There's the sales department, there's
Admins.
customer service,
The
there's all this
Office.
stuff. I literally thought of The Office because it's like one of my favorite shows. And I was like, well,
didn't think about
what
that.
was
such
Creed
a
in? Oh,
funny
Creed
show.
was in a quality control, right? Or whatever.
Creed.
But I made all the different departments and then I just inserted who was kind of doing what.
Okay.
And, there's a natural thing
She's
that
just
we
making this up.
No. Actually, I'm starting to think.
He's punking
No,
you.
I figured it out. Okay. Before you're gonna continue, but from what I'm seeing is you're the operator, and he's like the creative visionary, kind of ish for the fulfillment side.
Well, I did.
I guess that wrong.
We have our toe dipped in so many things
Okay.
in random ways. Okay, here's a good example.
Okay.
Can I tell a good
yeah.
example?
Go ahead.
Is that for our editing on our back end?
Okay.
Did you notice how he was talking about like blues and all this micro stuff? Okay, so he's literally like a savant when it comes to editing, but editing one photo. So the photos that you see like on our website, and then he's made them perfect. He's made them beautiful and incredible, right? Because he can focus. I cannot sit and focus. Like, I'm over it. Like, there's no way. But editing 800 photos from a wedding is trickier for him. So then we have to ping pong a little bit because I'm more of a quick start. So I can do the process quicker, and then he'll come in and he'll kind of do refinements.
Oh.
So yeah, so we
Interesting.
have our toes dipped in all the things, but we've kind of learned over the years how to. We took this thing called the Colby test.
Oh, I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's good.
and he's a systems guy. He loves systems.
What?
Yeah.
I like creating systems. I don't like running.
I
them.
like
Yes.
creating systems.
He loves creating systems, which is like hysterical because our daughter, she'll be like, "Mom, let's create a schedule," and she hates following the
No
schedule.
way.
It's so funny. She loves creating the schedule,
I'm
but not.
valid. I'm valid.
Oh,
She
yeah,
loves creating the
absolutely,
schedule.
absolutely.
But he will he'll set up a whole thing, and then it'll like just be a great system of it'll like flow, or like he'll set up if he's really good if you're gonna like set up the automated things or whatever. Like he'll set the whole thing up. My brain is so like foggy. I'm like, I cannot sit here and do this. This is horrible, right? I'm such a quick start. But when we took the Colby test, we saw, okay, he's into systems. I'm more of a quick start. I'll just get stuff going, and then I can maintain to a degree. We had to hire somebody, though, that helps us in the middle piece, which is, that was the piece we saw that was missing.
Yeah, and here's the thing. When you state it like that, it is really funny because she actually said that thing almost verbatim the other day. But it's important. You know, she's actually like incredibly creative as well, and she's like a great artist. You know.
Yeah, no, I mean, she's theater.
Yeah, and so like legit. You know what I mean? So, and she's like won awards and stuff. So, I think that like it's also, you know.
Yeah, we have, it's like a Venn diagram. It's like our brains overlap in certain places, but then we have our own skill sets in other places. I forgot what your original question was.
No, I was just curious to see how you guys balance it. You actually gave me a really interesting picture. I would never have thought that you're a systems guy. I'll be honest. It's not an insult or anything.
You should have
know?
seen him literally systematizing
You
and
just
figuring
picture
out
me
our.
like this like
No,
force
he
of
was
nature.
like a mad scientist doing our external hard drives,
Yeah.
because if you can imagine how many years we've been in business and how many hard drives we have to have, right?
I
We
got
fill
this.
them up. Yeah.
Oh, that's nothing. I have like 6 of those.
Fuck. Okay, so you're no, I'm talking about the storage system.
I am. That's
Okay.
exactly what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
Okay.
We have-
Yeah, I just got
Okay.
a new one.
You just gave me a whole new look of you.
Yes.
Shit.
No, he's been in there like a mad scientist, and I don't want to go
I
down a
mean-
rabbit hole too long on this because I know we could, but one of our hard drives, the actual company went out of business, and he had to figure out this
Drobo.
whole thing
Drobo, dude.
because we had to get stuff off of it, and then they even said, "Oh, everything's going to be wiped clean if you restart this or whatever," and he still
horrible.
figured it out.
Okay, so for the rare person, oh my goodness, that cable. You need to take it back. But everything else is very nice and shiny and bright.
Thank you.
So for anybody that their Drobo for some reason fails, like I had a Drobo 5D and I had like 70 terabytes of stuff on there.
Shit.
Yeah. So we had a power outage, and this is before I got is it a UPC? Something like that. I think I'm saying the acronym wrong. Anyway, it's like a battery pack that you plug all your important computer stuff into. Excuse me, for a power outage, right? And so the Drobo like flashed, like the motherboard on it. It just
Yeah.
like the power went out and it just like wiped the motherboard.
That is my biggest fear.
And
I've
I
never
called
seen him
my
so
brother.
scared in my whole life. I'm not going to lie.
I call and it was our stuff was backed up in other places,
Yeah.
but it still makes me extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I called my brother, who like does really cool work. He like installs like software on Tomahawk missiles.
Oh,
and
so
stuff.
you got a brother like that too?
Yeah, you do too.
I got a
Okay.
brother-in-law.
Yeah,
Nice.
okay. And so he's like, Mike, he's like, the hard drives in there are probably good. It's probably just like the motherboard, that keeps track of like what's on there. And
Right.
so, long story short, I go on eBay because he's like, just get a new Drobo, and I'm calling like B&H and stuff, and they're like, take those drives out, put them in the same exact order in a new Drobo. Which there's no new Drobos because the company literally went out of business.
Oh, fuck.
So I found one on eBay, and I was like, this is the jankiest thing I've ever done. Like, I'm like, I hope this like new used Drobo works. Yeah. So I plug all the hard drives in the same way, and I turn it on, and it worked.
That's
It worked because
Yeah.
their software is so incomprehensible,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
how it because it's like a RAID 0-ish.
Oh shit!
But not,
I just
it's
started
like a
learning about
RAID
this
1,
stuff,
I
so-
think.
Yeah.
And is that like a Synwave or something?
Yeah, it's a Synology.
Yeah. And
That's just like one example of like how he will literally deep
Wow, I
dive
didn't know
into
how
a
technical you
whole-
were.
Oh yeah.
Fuck.
yeah,
Oh, no.
I could geek out.
He could
dude.
geek for a while.
Oh,
and so
shit.
that's kind of
We've been
like,
talking the wrong language.
I know. I guess so, man.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Yeah.
So
People flame on me for being such a systems guy. It's like, dude, like,
Oh, I love it.
Optimize this, and no, like, well, fuck, someone needs to do it.
yeah, exactly. And then they don't appreciate it because like everything's
Oh my
running
gosh.
like buttery smooth behind the scenes and stuff. But you need to be that way for all this stuff, all this
Yeah.
audio stuff.
Actually, in fact, I was giving him
I
a
have to adjust this one more
long-winded
time. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
you good.
compliment the other day about how thankless the job is that he does behind the scene to make sure all of our photos are protected and backed
Shoot,
up
it was the
times a
longest
million.
tangent.
Yeah, I kept going and
It
going.
was such a nice compliment. I got tired of hearing it.
Yeah, he's like, all
I
right,
was
we're
like,
good.
I
We're
was
good.
like, we're good. I'm good with the compliment.
But I was like,
It
no,
was so
seriously.
sweet.
No, but it's one of those things when operating a business is such a major headache.
Yeah.
And nobody knows or cares. They don't understand what you're doing, how many hours you're spending making sure everything's protected, backed up.
Yeah.
You know, it's a whole job. You know,
It is.
So
So you're the IT department.
yeah,
Yeah, she's like,
and
when
it's listed like
they're
that in
going
my
down-
Excel spreadsheet. IT, Michael.
Actually,
Yeah.
do the same thing for A Plus out here too. So I've been working on their very large infrastructure projects and on the website aspect and from paid ads all the way to the actual sales transaction. So it's
Oh,
like,
cool. That's awesome.
That's a big deal.
That's
Yeah.
really, really cool.
yeah. So and the
Now,
content
this is a
side-
big business, man.
Yeah.
I didn't actually know how
I mean,
many
they're still very
locations and-
young, right? I mean,
Are they?
This by itself is it's still very small.
This one,
his
yeah. Wow.
collective amount of like business.
It's actually
is
it's really
large,
impressive, actually.
But this is small. It's like peanuts, you know.
Yeah, well,
But we're
Comparison.
still growing it, so it's a test. He calls it a test run or a what's it called, a hybrid for him.
okay.
Nice.
Because
Well-
Yeah.
most of the other shops that
This
he's done
this
are offline.
this
Yeah.
hybrid project would be like a major business for like most people.
Yeah.
It wouldn't
Oh,
be
yeah.
like a
no,
his
this-
side hustle.
Yeah. Legit.
It's legit. Yeah.
So
So,
we're building some cool stuff in here.
very cool.
But yeah, no, I'm so glad that you guys shared that. Wow, that just gave me a different perspective on Michael.
I want to
Oh
crawl into
my
his head to think of
gosh.
how was he viewing you before?
I know. Me
How do you guys
I
balance
know.
it?
Me too.
What when it comes down to you guys have kids also.
Yeah.
How are you guys balancing that with life and family and?
Honestly, very early
Mm-hmm.
on, Michael and I got a piece of paper. We put a line down the middle, and we just said, "Here's our jobs."
Mm.
Because, and I mean, it literally at the time.
Mm-hmm.
See, it's now become more of a natural thing. Honestly, we don't like tit for tat, but it literally came down. Do you remember, honey, when you were like, "Well, I trim the hedge sometimes," and that made it on the list of a chore, you know? And it's like we had to. You remember that?
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
like, well, I got to go out and trim the head. So, but it's like, if you're talking about family, like for instance, we figured out in the morning, I kind of like wake up with the kids. I make sure they get some food. I kind of like make, help
Pack their
them get,
backpacks and-
get them ready for school. But he actually takes them. That really helps me out
Okay.
to not have to do that. And then I pick them up. He started seeing that I was losing it at night, and he just like automatically took over bedtime stories because I was like, I'm gonna lose my mind, and
but
he's
in-
like, how about I do the bedtime stories?
Yeah. And also she's so sweet with the kids. and I don't mind just being like, a disciplinarian sometimes.
Okay.
And sometimes when everybody's tired, you kind of got to do that because it's bedtime.
Yeah.
It's like
There's got to be
And
nobody wants to.
our kids can hem
When
and
you're
haw
a kid,
for a
you
long
never want to
time.
hear that it's time to go to bed. Adults don't want to hear. I don't want to hear this. Some adults do. They're like, "Oh, I can't wait to get all cozy in bed." And I'm just like, I never want to go to bed. I would like to watch the 5th episode of whatever season of whatever show I'm watching. So yeah.
Yeah, so we kind of just figured out these natural roles for home and for work. And I think that they're mostly balanced, to be honest with you. I think that we've just naturally fallen into that over time. I think maybe at times certain things weren't probably balanced. But yeah, at this point, I feel like he will realize an imbalance quicker than I do. My brain doesn't like actually pick up on it. I just kind of like go and I don't know what's happening. And he'll be like, I'm just going to unload the dishwasher for her, even though like my task, home task, the big one is the dishes and his big task is the laundry. But then there have been times when he's gotten so overwhelmed with laundry and I've just, I have
hate
just
laundry.
done it. And this is the cutest thing I tell people.
I can't believe we're talking about this on a podcast.
He had this
You
huge
gotta
amount
edit this part out.
but it's hysterical.
I might not.
It was the sweetest thing because he got like kind of behind on laundry and I was like, I'm just going to do it. I just like folded a bunch of laundry he had kind of gotten behind on. And then like weeks, he'd said thank you and stuff. And then weeks later he goes, I just want you to know, I appreciate you saving me from the laundry. I still haven't forgotten that you saved me from the laundry because it got like so, overwhelming that it was like.
All right, so pivoting.
So we do.
Nobody wants to hear about the laundry.
I'm sorry, we do share.
Or dishes.
The honest truth is that we share
But
the
I
home
could,
life balance.
You know what? I could sum it up for you though. If
It's like you guys are one person, like I said.
If you were like a hive mind, if you did want to edit that part out, we could start from like right here. Because we've had so many people ask us, like, how do you work? I could never, like another duty, be like, I could never work
You guys
with my
talk
wife.
about business at home?
I could no. We talk about business. Like literally, I think the second to last thing I said before we fell asleep was about business.
Okay, last night before we fell asleep, he said something about business, and then I was like, okay, that's awesome. I was like, can we pivot from business conversation for the? It was like 11
And then it was
at night.
Yeah. Okay, so we've been asked so many times, like another guy will be like, how do you work with your wife? I could never work with my wife. And first of all, you have to be like, I like working with my wife, because it has to be that type of personality.
Right.
But to actually, in the long run, work with your partner is to have specific tasks, like in summation, that you both do, so you don't have to have a conversation about it every day. So like her point, I think, was like if it's like housework, like you do this. I drop off the kids every morning. You pick the kids up. You know what I mean? You make dinner for the kids, and I, read them a bedtime story and put them to bed. And so it's the same thing in business. It's like she's going to get back to potential clients and do the sales calls, and I'm going to do all the website updates and the IT stuff. And the
we're
social
both gonna
media.
shoot.
You know what I mean? And we're both going to shoot, and we're both going to,
Yeah.
And so it's like specific tasks, so you don't have to have a fresh conversation about it every day. And frustration is like, why didn't this thing get done? It's like, if this thing doesn't get done, we know exactly who to look to. We look to ourselves, or we look to the other person because that was in their,
That's interesting.
Yeah.
on their task list. Yeah.
Also, though, I would say that like some people might say like, oh, it'd be so hard to work with your spouse and stuff. But we are so aligned in all of our life goals. I mean, let's be honest. Like the health of our business and the health literally of our children and family are all very crystal clear, both of us. Whereas when people have divided roles, they might not be as in tune with what's going on at work or with what's going on with the kids. We're both really in tune with both.
Wow.
And I think also this is possibly the true answer is that we literally met, started dating, got married, had a business before our brains were fully formed. So I think we just grew
I was like
together.
25.
Yeah,
She was
You guys
like-
condition each other.
She was,
basically.
yeah.
I think like our brains like have just this is how we are as individuals now as a
Right.
married couple for such a
Yeah.
long time.
How long have you guys been married for?
A while.
I need a number.
We're not going to give you one.
Jesus, I guess not on the podcast.
You probably can guess it pretty easily.
It's been a while.
Okay, awesome.
We're happy though.
Love that. Okay, cool. I did want to ask one question, pivot back into it.
Yeah.
Right. For anybody listening, I guess, with your guys' experience now teaching other freelancers, right? What's one major mistake that you guys often see within them?
It's interesting. One big mistake I see a lot is actually very talented photographers not realizing they're talented and being too scared of the fear boogeyman to step out. And I'm looking at their work and I'm like, you're actually really good. Just go out and like talk to people more about it, you know? And there will be people that actually aren't really that incredible, but they're much more confident. So I think the big piece is like for a lot of people is you have to start doing more trust falls and trying things like we said before, because you're not going to be great at everything. So if you're good at photography, but you aren't very good at promoting yourself, you're going to have to strengthen that muscle, or you're going to have to partner
They need
with
to
somebody.
hire you, basically.
Yeah.
You know? And from day one, we were both like, we're not going to do accounting stuff. So day one, we hired an accountant. Like
Yeah.
even when we were like, I think in school or the first year out of school.
We literally never did any.
We were just like, we're not.
We never tried to do
We're not going
QuickBooks
to even
or
try
Good for you
to
guys.
do that. The thing that I see, and this may be more like specific when somebody has already gotten a job, is like, it's not about you. Like, don't take over the whole shoot. You know what I mean? Like, definitely be kind, be amiable, you know, have fun and stuff, but don't be hyper aware if possible of like when the couple's energy or your client, if it's a brand shoots energy, or like they're like good with this shot, like let's move on.
Okay.
You know,
very new photographers often, and we did this too. Do you remember that shoot that we did at the Getty where we just almost killed our clients? They're like at the end, they were tired and cold and
want to make
freezing.
sure they got their money's
Because
worth.
we were just like, we really want to do a good job for you, but you know, you just kind of
Yeah.
overdo it, and it's okay to a degree, but you know, just try to have a little, just go in with some confidence.
Yeah, if the sun is gone and you have like on camera flash.
No.
Just read the room.
Oh yeah, that's a good memory. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Sounds like another story, but
Yeah.
I want to keep it short. I know you guys have a lot
All
of
right,
things
so last
going
question
on.
then.
So no, actually, what I want to ask last is like for you guys, what you guys are building. What's you guys' vision, or what are you guys looking forward to in the next couple of years?
I think that we both want a super healthy lifestyle, physically, mentally, with our kids. We want to travel and have fun, and we want to see, you know, like what, you know, just like continuing to grow our income.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, for me, a big piece of my focus, because I love shooting so much, and I will always love shooting, and I'm also seeing how much bigger the potential impact is actually from the teaching space.
Love
and
that.
so our Costa education platform is we're starting with helping wedding photographer and videographers pivot into the brand photography, videography space. But we have so many things to teach. So I really see that umbrella being for teaching. I mean, honestly, we have at least like 4 other courses just on our mind.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, like what you were saying about, okay, well, what about a creative and they're not very good at this, this, and this? I see myself, if there's creatives that are doing really amazing things, partnering with them to potentially do a course with them, because as we have the infrastructure and we have been able to, you know, be successful in the course space, it's really hard for someone to start an entire platform for, you know, online courses.
Yeah,
and if they have a
absolutely.
really good nugget that can be proven, as you know, through paid ads and things like that,
Right.
then it makes sense to also partner for really good education. So we see that being very, very big really in the future.
Okay, awesome. I love it. I mean, you guys have such a very instinct foundation already. So, I mean, you guys is a collective work. I can't even say collective. You guys are just one person to me. Like I keep saying.
Let's not get carried away.
Well, you did say that we were like
Sorry, I
the
didn't mean that.
Borg,
The
which
hive
was
mind?
very, very nerdy the other day.
Super nerdy. So, okay. I love how, though, you went straight to the work, and I was saying, like, the outcome from the work. And I just want to add, of course, like, and we just want to keep shooting, you know, work that we're inspired by. like more and more.
Love that.
You know,
It's funny because one of my life goals is to have a freedom where at some point I can create whatever I want, and one of them would be to go into nature and get a camera and just take photos and videos of animals.
just shoot around. Yeah,
Right?
definitely.
I don't care who sees it or where it goes. I just want to.
I love that, dude. I love nature. I love animals and stuff too.
Yeah.
I don't know why that's on my bucket list.
Yeah.
But no, honestly, I appreciate you guys for sharing, coming out here in Santa Paula to share your stories.
Our pleasure.
I
Oh,
think
yeah.
a lot of listeners, especially in the freelancing world, would get a lot of value from this thing.
Yeah, thank
Well,
you
great.
so much
Yeah,
for
thank
having
you
us.
for having us. This is a really cool
We're
podcast,
stoked.
man. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, what are your goals? I feel like if you keep going with this, I mean, it's so
I can break
legit.
down my goals.
Yeah.
But it would
Give
extend
me like
the
the top
podcast
two.
even more.
Give me the top two.
two right now, I would say, is that what we're building with A+ and my agency.
Yeah.
Right. I've taken a pause from my agency because I've really focused a lot on developing the skill sets and infrastructure that can help other businesses not just grow through social media, organic content, and from production end, but also from a sales and revenue wise. Like, how do we expand? How do we make sure that like what we're doing with marketing actually it grows your company?
Dude, you geek out in such a sexy way, dude.
No, my other goal would be to grow this platform. I'm very passionate.
Yeah.
I'm very passionate about helping others when it comes down to finding their passion and turning that into something more, right? I think everybody deserves to find a life that they deserve to create.
Yeah.
I love it.
And a lot of people are unfortunately subjected to what society has presented them. And
Right.
I think we
Ooh,
can do
that's
more.
good.
That's why I bring
Yeah.
people on like you guys
I
who
love
Like they
that.
flip a
evidence.
switch in their head and be like, I
Absolutely.
can do what I want. Like I
exactly.
could follow
Exactly.
the
It's
things
so
that I'm
true.
passionate
Exactly.
about.
And
I love
that.
it.
The other part is just me serving more communities out there, like less fortunate, and how can I give back? Like I've never been a money person. I've always been like, how do I bring people together?
Yeah, impact.
I love
Yeah,
it.
Exactly.
Awesome.
One last question though, and before
Absolutely.
I ask for you guys for where people can find you, if you guys can choose one object or animal to represent yourself, what would that be?
Well, we already have him
Okay, what is it?
for animals.
Okay.
He's a bear.
Oh, why?
Well, first of all, he looks like a bear. He's also an apex predator, but he's
Oh, okay,
when you see a bear, you want to hug the bear. It is like in your.
He's very huggable.
When you see like a crocodile, you don't want to hug a crocodile, even though that crocodile's been there since
Yeah, you're right,
dinosaurs,
you're
right?
right.
Before
Like,
I
you-
wouldn't hug a bear though.
I know, but when you
Unless they were
see a
teens.
bear, I mean, they make you want to hug
This
a
is
bear.
so personal, dude. This is like the nicknames at home.
He's
That she
he's an apex predator.
Uh-huh.
He's like that is really who he is. Like on the outside, he's like this manly man, but on the inside, he's just got like this
Mm-hmm.
truly heart of gold. He's such a sweetheart. That's really. I think
really
that's
sweet,
why
honey.
his
Thank you.
energy is like that when he rolls in. He just has this like fun because people just like they're like,
We love Michael.
yeah, they love him.
Thank you guys. You're a sweetheart. Thank
Thanks.
you.
What about you, Anna? What would your
Well, you can tell him
object or
what
creature?
my animal is.
Well, her actual spirit animal, I think, is a plains wolf.
Why?
But for fun, to keep her humble, I
Okay.
call her capybara.
Yeah,
Why is that?
You know what a capybara is?
Yeah, it's like a little.
They're the cutest.
they're a rodent.
They're
a huge.
They're the
rodent.
largest rodent
Yeah,
species.
yeah.
And they're
They're-
just so adorable.
I didn't even realize they exist until
Uh,
social media.
And there's just like the cutest pictures of them online.
Yeah.
And if you look at some of them, they just make you laugh. But she's obviously very beautiful and
Aw.
she's
He
very
saw
majestic.
he saw a
And so-
capybara at the zoo, and he thought they were the cutest and silliest
like,
creatures. so
hey, babe,
he
that
had
looks
to
like
name me
you.
that.
So I just have all sorts of nicknames for her.
Oh, okay.
oh yeah, he's got endless.
Um,
But I'm also a plains wolf because for some
She's a
reason I just
well, she
have
took a
this.
test one time and it was like, what is your spirit animal? And it was funny because she was already calling me a bear and mine ended up being a bear. Maybe it's
Right,
like,
right.
you know, because subconsciously. And then hers was like the plains wolf, which is like essentially, I think, a gray wolf that they just reintroduced back into, I think they were only in Canada for a while. And they were almost extinct because they're like the largest wolf, and they kill everything basically if they get into the
Yeah.
And so they,
Wow.
they're like
Does she
like,
kill everything?
no, she kills it.
the work?
She
Yes.
I
kills
kill
it.
it.
She does
with
kill
the
it.
work.
Yes.
I
Okay.
definitely have that.
Killer instinct.
Yeah, I have that piece of my brain that just can't stop, won't
No.
stop.
I'm so amazed by you guys' duality or synchronicity. Okay.
Synchronicity.
Synchronicity.
That's good.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's a good word.
I guess. Okay, so
Good
for
stuff,
anybody tuning in, where can they find you guys to maybe book you guys, but also for your course?
Yeah. Well, actually, for our course, send us a DM. We're always in the DMs.
Okay.
For our Instagram, which is at Michael and Anna Costa. For our photography work, you can find us at michaelandannacosta.com.
Okay.
And
for our education is Costa Education, COSTA education.com.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Cool. Actually, before we end, I got one gift for you guys. Unfortunately,
Aw.
What?
you guys have already said you guys are not a wine person, but I guess you
Oh,
guys,
that was the disappointment.
Yeah,
I'm like,
you guys-
sorry, dude. I'm like,
no, you guys can keep it.
Jeez.
You guys can put it in the shelf.
well, that's really
Oh,
sweet,
thank
man.
you.
This is a gift.
What?
Oh my
It has
gosh.
our logo
Yeah.
on it. How
No, we
slick is
definitely
that?
can't open that now.
It's a gift
Wow.
by A Plus.
Why would I
Branding.
want to open this?
That's
Exactly.
sick.
That's
So you
beautiful,
keep it
man.
like
I love the
this.
color too.
That's beautiful.
So
Yeah, that is
actually,
beautiful.
Gave you guys a bunch of
What?
vinyl
No
stickers.
way.
Oh, that's
So
very,
you
very
guys'
thoughtful,
brand.
man.
That
Beautiful.
is so
Yeah.
good.
Look how cool these are,
I
man.
love
That's
that.
so rad.
So they do
I
all
love
that
it.
UV light printing as
That
well.
looks
so-
Beautiful.
good.
Oh, I love how subtle this is too.
Yeah.
That
So
wine
Very
bottle's making me
cool.
want to drink.
I know, man. Let's
beautiful.
Do this. No, I'm just kidding. This is very nice, man. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so
Charles.
much. You're
welcome.
Thank you very much,
Cool.
Charles.
That is
Awesome.
so beautiful.
yeah, I'll tell them too because a lot of our guests we try to give them in here. A Plus helps out with it. I mean, they sponsor this whole,
Oh
Very
yeah,
nice.
we'll be telling everyone because honestly, in the wedding industry, people
Yeah.
they
Honestly,
make a lot of this stuff.
A lot of you guys picture. I've seen some of the pictures I've done for like a claw machine where they would take a high res picture and put it on as a vinyl wrapped around that.
Yeah. Oh,
Really?
totally.
So a lot of stuff that they can
Oh
do.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, actually, you know what? This is kind of meant to be, because Anna could attest. I think one of my earliest, just sort of creative things that I've never done, that I've wanted to do is make T-shirts,
Oh,
like cool T-shirts.
Yeah.
And I have like T-shirt designs. In fact, I created another one that had like words on it.
yeah.
And I wrote it down and everything the other day, but I'm like, I'm not gonna make T-shirts. I have like no, I like no like source, to
Yeah.
do that.
Right.
And then I walk in and you have this great tour of this amazing facility, and like the T-shirts that you guys are showing me have all
Yeah.
this, complicated like a manufacturing process going on that they're able to do. So, all right.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Amazing.
if you guys have any questions, they'll
Yeah.
be glad to help you out. If you want to start up that shop, I mean, we started a website, but since you guys already do the websites, we started offering them for clients as well who want to offer merch for.
Oh, awesome.
So it just goes strictly directly to us, and we just give them a paycheck.
Oh, that's super
for-
cool.
Yeah, so if you guys know any businesses that need
Okay.
that, or maybe you guys want to,
No,
that's
definitely. I mean, even with our clients too, for
Yeah,
our
no,
brand
absolutely.
clients.
Wonderful, beautiful.
yeah, well, I think that's it, guys.
Yay!
Well, good times,
Thank
buddy.
you so much.
Thank
This
you
was
guys
Thank you,
for
awesome.
Charles.
being on. And then for all of our listeners, thank you for listening. I hope you guys got some nuggets out of this episode. And then we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Sounds fun.
Awesome.
Thank you. Hey, Voice community. Thank you so much for being a supporter of this platform. Our goal is to establish a platform where we can represent voices that empower others to be more, do more, and have more. We advocate for a message to voicing what matters. Through our platform, we dedicate our content through the voices of creators, leaders, communities, and organizations. We vocalize messages and stories representing aligning values through many people's stories. We want to provide content for others who feel like they have no voice or don't feel like they have a direction, feel lost, or need guidance. And through others' voices, we believe that everyone is deserving to pursue a lifestyle that they get to create. We appreciate any support you give to keep our platform growing. If you find value in the content we put out, you can subscribe to our channel or follow us on the podcast platform you're listening to. It really does go a long way, so we appreciate every help you can give us. Thanks again for supporting our platform. We hope to see you guys on the next episode.